Hi, this is Everett from Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. I was out early this morning and I saw a building in the parking lot and I decided to do a simple sketch. So I brought the sketch back into my studio and I'll do a little bit of work on it and show you what I can do. So let's go over to my drawing board and check it out. Okay, this is the photograph I took this morning. What's interesting about it is what I like is the lost and found edge. I've got a nice sharp edge here along the part of the building, and then I have the way back here in the shadows because of the darkness. There's a lost edge, and over here there's edges here that are lost. So lost and found edges make a painting very interesting. That's what really attracted me was the shape and also the edges. So this is what I did earlier in the truck looking out through the window. I just did a rough outline sketch. But what I want to do here in the studio is to work on what I see the edges. This one here is a nice sharp edge. On this side of the building. This here is in shadow, this little piece here. And then this one here is another. There's a shadow over here along this edge, which makes it very, very interesting. This will bring out the characteristic of the structure. Now, a building, like any other building, is an architectural object in a landscape or in a painting. The edges and the fact that you have straight lines and so forth gives a characteristic of the architecture. Buildings have a lot of straight lines. And this one here has some curves in it. I like this curve up here and this shape here. And then there's an interesting edge here, right at the edge of the shadow. This architecture. And this part here, at the top of the rooftop, it goes back in to the shadow. So I'll just draw in part of that. And then because of the light hitting the edge, you can see some lost and found. I call lost and found edges are very important in giving your... Now what I did here in my original sketch was I drew in some shapes, but I realized that it wasn't large enough, so I kept expanding. And again, I don't erase all the lines. I leave some of the lines in there. That gives it a little character. There's another, with all these straight edges, I like the fact that I have a once in a while a curved edge, which is this curved edge right here, in combination with the straight edges. And on this side over here, there's another wonderful shadow over here cast on the side of the building. And under here, another shadow with a sharp edge. There's a lot of sharp edges here. And then down here, and again, I'm looking at the proportion of the drawing versus the proportion in the subject matter. I don't worry about measuring exactly with a ruler. This is all judgment by eye and spatial. And down here was some shapes, interesting looking shapes. Shapes are important in a painting. A variety of shapes. And this over here is lost in the shadow, this part here. This part here, I don't even see the top of the roof. I see a faint line up here, and then it goes back into shadow. And this is a sharp edge here, and it goes back into shadow. And there's a sharp edge. There's a sharp edge here. And then coming down, there's a sharp edge here. And coming back almost here, there's a sharp edge. So I'm capturing some of the edges. Now, I see along the edge over here that in the background there's a tree line back here, and I had one tree that's up here just to give us some interest. Over here is a tree, and part of it's in shadow and part of it's in the light because of the, now I'm not going to draw in the lamppost and so forth because this is a artificial light coming in, and there's a hint of a tree back in here. Yeah, just hints. Okay, now also the name of the building is not important, but there's some letters up here and some shape. So what I've captured here is the essence of the building. I've got the outline structure. I know where the sharp edges are, and if I decide to paint this, I would do it with a gradual shift of color. Let me bring the picture back into view here. And there's a shift in color from here all the way down. There's a shift in color and value across this way. And obviously there's definitely a shift in value up here in the top. And it gets more muted over here in value, shadowy and so forth. So this is a good example of finding an object that has an interesting shape, also has a nice characteristic shadow patterns, and also lots of lost and found edges. This is what attracts me most when I go to find a subject matter, especially when I'm driving around or stopping and looking around for an object. Well, that was really a good exercise. Again, as I was drawing, now I realized what really attracted me to that particular scene. I saw this building in the parking lot. I saw the lighting hitting the building, and I said, wow, I need to capture that. So the sketch I had was just for the outline. But when I come back here and started drawing again and looking at the photograph, I realized the sharp edges were there, which is a characteristic of an architectural drawing or a building. But there's also the muted edges. There were the lost and found. There were the edges that were undefined. And those are the parts that make a painting interesting. And so in your drawings, which is the basis of art, you need to think about your design, whether the building or the object is going to be large or small, the shapes, look at the angles you're going to use, but look at the values. Where does the values change? How does the colors change? Drawing allows you to analyze your subjects and plan how you're going to paint it. That was the way I look at it. This is the way I draw most of my subjects. So I'll be back again to show you some other demonstrations on how I paint other objects. Please sign up for my YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.